Your greatest power is not in your hands. It's not in your voice. It's in your mind. The battlefield of life is not out there. It's in here. And let me tell you this, if you do not train your mind to remain calm, the storms of life will train it for you, and they will train it wrong. A restless mind creates a restless life, but a calm mind, that's where power lies. That's where leadership begins. That's where peace becomes your weapon. Calm is a decision, not a reaction. Calm is a decision, not a reaction. You don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis to choose peace. You choose peace before the crisis ever arrives. You don't try to build a house in the middle of a storm. You build it in the calm so it can survive the storm. The same is true for your mind. Every single day, you are given opportunities to train your response to the rude driver on the road, the delay in traffic, the colleague who speaks out of turn, the unexpected bills, the passive-aggressive message from someone you once trusted. These aren't just problems, they are practice grounds. Life is training you, and the question is, are you reacting or are you deciding? The average person lives in emotional autopilot. They wait for something to happen, then they explode, withdraw, panic, or break down. But here's the truth, you were not created to be at the mercy of your emotions. You were built with the power to choose. Calm is not weakness. Calm is not surrender. Calm is not passivity. Calm is control. It is leadership of the highest form. It is the strength to remain grounded when the winds are trying to uproot everything you've built. Look at a lion in the wild. It doesn't chase every sound. It doesn't respond to every movement in the bushes. It remains calm because it knows what it is. Confidence breeds calm, and that's where most people miss it. They don't train their minds to be calm because they don't believe they're in control. They believe they're victims of life instead of leaders of themselves. But you are not a victim. You are a master in the making. You are not called to chase every distraction or react to every disturbance. You are called to command peace in the middle of pressure. Think about the last time someone disrespected you or tried to provoke you. Did you respond with strength or react with emotion? You see, when you react, they control you. But when you respond, you control you. And in that moment, calmness becomes power. The loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. Sometimes it's the one who says nothing and still shifts the atmosphere. That's what calm does. It changes the temperature without raising its voice. You can train yourself to do this. It starts in the morning. Before you pick up your phone, before you check emails, before you scroll through chaos, set the thermostat of your mind. Say to yourself, today I will respond, not react. Today I will guard my peace like it's my purpose, because it is. Your peace is directly tied to your ability to fulfill your purpose. A distracted mind cannot dream. A chaotic mind cannot create. A racing heart cannot lead others. You must protect your peace like it's gold, because in this world, peace is rare, and whatever is rare becomes powerful. Look at professional athletes before a major game. They don't enter the court frantically. They walk with focus. They've trained. They've conditioned themselves, not just physically, but mentally. That's why they can remain composed even when the score is tight, even when the crowd is shouting, because calm isn't natural. It's trained. It's practiced. And it becomes automatic only after it's intentional. You must practice calm the same way. When someone cuts in front of you in line, breathe. When your child spills the juice after you clean the floor, pause. When the news brings anxiety, send to yourself, these are not just small annoyances, they are opportunities to strengthen your mental muscles. The problem is not the problem. The problem is how you see the problem. And if you see every problem as a trigger, your life becomes a series of reactions. But if you see every problem as a test, your life becomes a journey of mastery. And let me say this, people will try to pull you into their storm just to steal your calm. Don't let them. Your peace is not a product of your surroundings. It's a product of your decisions. Even in a loud world, you can create silence within. Even in a toxic room, you can carry a clean heart. Even when the pressure is high, you can choose to respond with wisdom, not war. That's not denial, that's dominance. Every time you feel tempted to lose your cool, remember this: losing your temper means you just gave someone else the keys to your peace. And no one deserves that much power over you. Not your boss, not your critics, not even your past. When you choose calm, you're choosing clarity. And when you're clear, you can see what matters. You can focus on goals, not gossip. You can pursue growth, not grudges. You can chase vision, not validation. So train your mind. Like a soldier trains for battle, like a pilot trains for turbulence. You don't wait for the chaos to start before you decide who you're going to be. You decide before the chaos ever shows up. And when it does, you'll be ready. Not because life got easier, but because your mind got stronger. Calm is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of strength anchored in a decision you made long before the fight began. Your thoughts are like soldiers. Train them. Your thoughts are like soldiers. Train them or they will turn against you. A mind left untrained is like a city without walls, vulnerable to every attack. open to every suggestion and controlled by whatever walks in first. You must understand this: your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions drive your actions. So if your thoughts are undisciplined, your entire life becomes reactive, unstable, and scattered. But when you train your thoughts, when you assign them a purpose, a pattern, and a path, you regain control over your life. Look around you. People are not failing because they lack talent. They're failing because their minds are working against them. They wake up, and the first thought that hits them is fear. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail again? What if I never get that job? And instead of standing guard, they allow those thoughts to run free like wild animals. They forget that the mind is not supposed to lead. It's supposed to be led. You are the commander. You are the one who determines what thoughts are allowed to stay and which ones must be dismissed. A trained mind does not entertain every idea. A trained mind evaluates thoughts like a gatekeeper. It asks, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Let me give you a daily life example. Imagine a person who gets overlooked for a promotion. Their untrained mind immediately starts screaming, you're not valuable. They don't see you. You're never going to get ahead. And if they're not careful, they begin to believe those thoughts. They walk into work the next day with their head down, their confidence shaken, their presence dimmed. Why? Because one thought walked in unchallenged, and now it's ruling the castle. But a trained mind would pause and say, wait a minute. That's just a thought, not a fact. It would ask, is this thought based on truth or is it based on emotion? And then it would choose a better thought. Maybe that promotion wasn't for me. Maybe there's something greater coming. Maybe I'm being positioned, not punished. That shift doesn't come from the outside. It comes from mental training. Your mind is not a garbage bin for fear, doubt, and worry. It's a command center. But if you let every fear-filled thought land there, you'll be too mentally exhausted to act. This is why you must train your thoughts like soldiers. You tell them where to march. You give them orders. You don't let them roam and riot and rage. You give them structure. Today, you will focus on growth. Now, today, you will expect good things. Today, you will remain calm no matter what comes. It's not fake. It's not denial. It's discipline. The greatest leaders in history weren't the ones who had the best circumstances. They were the ones who mastered their minds. They were the ones who faced betrayal and said, I still believe in purpose. They were the ones who faced loss and said, I won't let this destroy me. They were the ones who heard 1,000 doubts but chose one thought and ran with it. I will rise again. That is not magic. That is mental mastery. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you gave your thoughts an instruction? When was the last time you silenced your inner critic? When was the last time you caught a negative thought mid-sentence and said, you don't belong here? Most people never do. They accept every thought as truth. But just because a thought shows up in your head doesn't mean it deserves your agreement. You don't have to think everything you think. A woman I once knew used to struggle with anxiety every morning. She'd wake up feeling overwhelmed before her feet even touched the floor. But then she did something simple. She started journaling 5 empowering thoughts every morning before doing anything else. I am strong. I am equipped. Today is a gift. I can handle what's coming. My peace is my power. At first, it felt robotic, but within weeks, her mind began to adjust. She wasn't being ruled by fear anymore because she had trained her thoughts to follow a new commander. You see, repetition creates transformation. You cannot just think a good thought once and expect it to override years of fear-based thinking. You must train your thoughts daily, hourly, sometimes minute by minute. When that voice says, you're not qualified, you counter it immediately. I may not know everything, but I'm willing to learn. When it says, you're too late, you reply, I'm right on time for what's mine. That is mental warfare. That is how you win before the battle even begins. And here's a truth most people overlook. Whatever you allow your mind to rehearse, you eventually begin to live. If you rehearse fear, you'll live cautiously. If you rehearse rejection, you'll act defensively. But if you rehearse peace, purpose, and progress, you'll step into situations with confidence, even if they're uncertain. The mind obeys the pattern you set. So ask yourself, what have I been training my thoughts to expect? And if the answer doesn't empower you, it's time to retrain the system. You are not just here to survive the day. You're here to lead it. And that begins in your thoughts. Because when your thoughts are trained, your emotions come into order. Your decisions become sharper. Your actions become intentional. And your life begins to follow the pattern of your mind. You don't just change by hoping. You change by commanding. And your first command post is in your mind. Train it. Equip it, master it, and watch how everything else follows. Never let external storms create internal chaos. Never let external storms create internal chaos. That's not just a saying, it's a survival principle. Because life will bring storms, that's guaranteed. Bills will show up uninvited. People will misunderstand you. Opportunities will get delayed. Loved ones may walk away. Plans will break. But you must make a decision that no matter what is shaking outside, I will not allow it to shake what's within me. The storm can be loud, the rain can be heavy, the wind can be wild, but your mind must remain anchored. Your soul must be still. Your thoughts must remain focused. That is power. That is leadership. That is mental mastery. Think about this. When a pilot flies through turbulence, the storm doesn't stop the plane. It only tests the pilot's training. The plane was built to withstand pressure, but it's the pilot who must remain composed. In the same way, you are built to handle pressure. The question is, have you trained your inner pilot? Or are you panicking every time the atmosphere gets rough? Let's talk real life. You wake up and get bad news. Maybe your rent just went up. Maybe a client canceled. Maybe someone criticized your work. If you're not trained, your mind instantly spirals. What am I going to do? How will I make it? I can't catch a break. The external storm has now created an internal one. You begin to replay fears that haven't happened. You start doubting decisions you once believed in. You react instead of respond. And the moment that happens, you've lost power, not because the storm was too strong, but because your anchor wasn't deep enough. But listen, calm is not a luxury for the lucky. It's a discipline for the determined. It is a decision to say, though the waves may rise, I will not sink with them. You can lose your job and not lose your mind. You can go through heartbreak and not lose your identity. You can hear chaos and still carry clarity. That's what separates powerful people from panicked people. Powerful people are not people with perfect lives. They're people with trained minds. They've decided, I will not internalize every external event. There was a woman who once told me she lost her entire business during a recession. Everything gone, staff laid off, accounts empty. Most people would have collapsed under that kind of pressure. But she did something extraordinary. She took 3 days in silence, not to soak, but to realign. She meditated. She wrote down every truth about herself that the storm couldn't touch. I am still resourceful. I am still creative. I still have experience. I still have wisdom. I still have options. She didn't deny the storm. She just refused to let it define her. And from that place of mental clarity, she rebuilt. Today, that same woman owns 3 businesses. Not because the storm didn't hit her, but because it didn't enter her. That's the kind of mental strength you must develop. Because here's the truth. Life does not always give warnings before storms. People don't always apologize before they walk away. Challenges don't always ask for your permission to arrive. But your mind must be so anchored that no matter who leaves, no matter what shifts, no matter what breaks, you remain clear, calm, and focused. You must train yourself to pause before panic, breathe before breakdown, respond before reacting. Practice this in the small moments so you're ready for the big ones. When someone cuts you off in traffic, don't scream, breathe. When someone talks behind your back, don't retaliate, rise. When plans fall apart, don't collapse, pivot. Because the storm doesn't destroy you, the lack of preparation does. And let me say this, not every storm is meant to destroy you. Some storms are meant to clear the path. Some storms are meant to reveal who's really with you. Some storms come to shake what wasn't stable in the first place. But here's the key. If you let every external storm shake your internal world, you'll never know the difference between destruction and direction. That's why you must train your mind to remain calm, not just for survival, but for discernment. You can't hear wisdom in a whirlwind. You can't receive guidance in a panic. You can't lead others when you can't lead yourself. So calm is not just personal, it's purposeful. It affects your decisions. It shapes your relationships. It influences your future. Calm isn't about sitting still. It's about standing strong. It's the stillness that says, I've been here before. I've seen storms before, and I'm not going to let this one break me. Every storm is temporary, but your internal world, your mindset, your discipline, your self-talk, that's what will last. That's what will carry you through seasons of instability. That's what will keep you grounded when everything else is moving. Never let external storms create internal chaos. Not because storms aren't real, but because your peace is more valuable, your purpose is more important, and your future depends on how well you protect your inner world in the face of outer battles. Emotional discipline is the secret, mental strength. Emotional discipline is the secret to mental strength. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. And the way you respond is not based on feeling, it's based on focus. The person who can feel deeply but still act wisely is unstoppable. Emotional discipline is not about being emotionless, it's about making emotions serve you, not sabotage you. Most people are controlled by how they feel in the moment, and that moment determines their mood, their words, and ultimately their decisions. But you must rise above that. You must train your emotions to obey your mission. There's a difference between feeling something and being that thing. You can feel angry without being anger. You can feel afraid without being fear. You can feel sad without sinking in sorrow. Emotional discipline says, I acknowledge what I feel, but I will not allow what I feel to dictate what I do. And that is where true mental power begins, not in the absence of emotions, but in the ability to lead them. Take a real-world example. Someone disrespects you publicly. The natural emotional reaction is to lash out, defend yourself, prove your point. That's raw emotion. But what happens if you pause? What happens if you let the emotion rise without letting it speak for you? You gain power, you gain control, because now you're operating from principle, not pressure. And that's how leaders are formed, not by reacting, but by responding with clarity. Think of a firefighter. They walk into burning buildings while everyone else is running out. Do you think they feel fear? Absolutely. But they've trained themselves to function under that emotion without being controlled by it. That's emotional discipline. That's mental strength. They don't wait for the fear to disappear. They operate with courage while the fear still exists. And the same applies to your life. You don't wait for the anxiety to vanish before you act. You don't wait for the sadness to lift before you move. You operate through it. You discipline your emotions to cooperate with your value, not your circumstances. Here's the truth. Undisciplined emotions will destroy the very things you've built with discipline. You can spend 5 years building a business, and 5 minutes of emotional recklessness can cost you your reputation. You can nurture a relationship for months and destroy it in one outburst. Emotional discipline is not optional, it's survival. It's the muscle you must develop to guard what matters most. Because everything you're building, your peace, your purpose, your influence, depends on how well you master yourself in moments of pressure. And don't confuse suppression with discipline. Suppression is avoidance. Discipline is alignment. Suppression says, I'll pretend I don't feel this. Discipline says, I feel this, but I'll act from truth, not tension. And when you train your emotions to align with your higher purpose, you become a force of stability in a world of instability. Let me give you a real, practical example. Imagine you're working on a goal, maybe launching a business, going back to school, or writing a book. At some point, discouragement will show up. You'll feel tired. You'll feel unappreciated. You'll wonder if it's even worth it. That's where most people quit, not because the goal wasn't real, but because the emotion was louder than the vision. Emotional discipline says, I will keep building even when I don't feel like it. You don't need to feel excited every day to stay committed. You need discipline. You need the ability to say, my emotions may fluctuate, but my values are fixed. There was a man I knew who lost his job unexpectedly. 3 kids, no backup plan. For a few days, he was devastated, angry, afraid, embarrassed. But then he did something powerful. He gave himself a time limit for how long he would sit in that emotion. 3 days. After that, he would shift his energy from grieving to rebuilding. He applied for jobs with a new mindset. He started freelancing. He learned new skills at night. And in 6 months, he was in a better role with higher pay. That didn't happen because he denied his emotions. It happened because he disciplined them. He said, you can visit, but you cannot live here. This is where true greatness is born, not in how much emotion you feel, but in how much wisdom you apply through those emotions. Everyone feels fear. Everyone feels doubt. Everyone gets tired. But not everyone trains their emotions to follow their vision. And that's the difference. Some are led by their moods, others are led by their mission. And your mission must be stronger than your mood. Every time you discipline your emotions, you become mentally stronger. When you choose silence over retaliation, you build strength. When you choose patience over panic, you build strength. When you choose focus over frustration, you build strength. These moments don't seem big at first, but they are building a fortress inside you. One decision at a time, one emotion at a time, one act of discipline at a time. Emotional discipline gives you consistency in a world driven by chaos. It lets you show up stable even when nothing around you is. It allows you to lead your life rather than life leading you. And the more you practice it, the stronger your mind becomes, until you are no longer shaken by what used to break you. Because now you understand your emotions are visitors, but your values are residents, and only the residents get to make the rules. Silence is the weapon of the wise. Silence is the weapon of the wise, because silence is not weakness, it is strategy. In a world that's obsessed with noise, arguments, and proving points, silence has become the most misunderstood form of strength. People think if you don't speak up, you're defeated. If you don't react, you're afraid. But those who are truly wise understand. Silence is not absence. It's presence under control. It's the maturity to know that just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. Think about how many times chaos has broken loose, not because of the storm, but because someone reacted too quickly. They didn't pause. They didn't observe. They didn't listen. And now what could have been solved with strategy has been destroyed by shouting. But the wise don't rush into battles with their mouths. They study the environment. They listen between the lines. They wait. They let fools exhaust their energy while they conserve theirs. Because silence is energy management. In your daily life, someone may insult you. They may lie on your name. They may spread rumors, and everything in you wants to clap back, to post something online, to defend yourself. But silence says, I don't need to explain my truth. I live it. You see, when you truly know who you are, you're not bothered by people who don't. That's why the wise don't get dragged into emotional street fights. They don't argue with every barking dog on the path because they know that every response costs energy, and energy is a currency too valuable to spend on nonsense. You ever notice that the loudest person in the room is usually the least confident? Real power moves in silence. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't scream for attention. It's too busy building, too busy planning, too focused on purpose. The wise understand that making noise doesn't equal making progress. Some people talk loud but walk in circles. But when you master the art of silence, you begin to walk in clarity. You begin to respond from truth, not triggers. There was a man who was betrayed by his closest friend in business. He found out this friend had been siphoning money behind his back. People expected him to explode, to confront him publicly, to go on social media and tell the world. But you know what he did? Nothing. He stayed quiet. People called him weak, said he was naive. But what they didn't see was what happened next. He went and hired an auditor, built evidence, called a lawyer, and within 3 months, he won a silent lawsuit and reclaimed what was stolen, plus more. That's the power of silence. It protects your position while preparing your strategy. When you are silent, you are not inactive. You are observing, you are calculating. You are giving yourself space to see what emotion would have made you miss. The unwise speak just to release pressure. The wise pause to preserve position. Because words once spoken cannot be undone. Some things are better left unsaid, not because they don't matter, but because they're not worth your peace. And sometimes silence is not about dealing with others. It's about dealing with yourself. When your mind is racing, your emotions are boiling, your thoughts are loud, you need to be still. Because silence gives birth to answers that noise can't reach. Some of your greatest breakthroughs won't come in the shout. They'll come in the stillness. That moment when you unplug, when you stop venting, when you stop asking everyone what they think, and you just sit with the truth, that's where direction shows up. That's where strength is formed. Silence is also a test. Can you handle not being validated? Can you endure being misunderstood without rushing to explain? Can you trust that the truth will rise without forcing it to surface? That's where wisdom lies, in restraint, in the quiet confidence that doesn't seek revenge because it knows that justice, real justice, moves quietly but hits hard. And here's the powerful part. Silence makes people uncomfortable, especially those who want a reaction. They'll poke you, test you, provoke you just to get a rise out of you. But when you don't give it to them, you take away their control. Your silence becomes your shield. It disarms manipulation. It exposes intentions because some people don't want peace. They want power over your emotions. But silence says, you don't get to pull my strings. I'm not your puppet. Wisdom understands that everything doesn't deserve a response. Some situations are traps disguised as conversations. Some arguments are just bait to lower your standard. Some conflicts are noise meant to distract you from your assignment. And that's why silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It's a filter. It helps you see what's worth your attention and what's worth letting go. You don't have to announce your growth. Just grow. You don't have to respond to every jab. Just rise. You don't have to prove you're right. Just stay focused and let time reveal what truth always will. Because when you've mastered the art of silence, you don't need to say much. Your life will speak loud enough. Peace is your competitive advantage. Peace is your competitive advantage because in a world addicted to speed, stress, and chaos, the calmest mind wins. When everyone else is panicking, when confusion is loud and fear is trending, the person who has mastered inner stillness becomes untouchable. You cannot buy peace. You cannot borrow it. You must build it. And once you build it, protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Peace isn't found in a perfect life. It's found in a powerful mindset. It's not when everything around you is calm, it's when you are calm regardless of what's around you. You know how powerful it is to walk into a storm and not let it enter you. To receive bad news and still remain steady, to be surrounded by noise but still hear your purpose louder than the panic, that's not weakness, that's mastery. A man once told me he lost everything in a single year. His business collapsed. His wife left. His health took a hit. And yet, he never looked broken. I asked him how. He said, I've learned not to let life make a home in my spirit. I go through things, but I don't let them go through me. That's when I realized peace is not a place you visit. It's a weapon you carry. And when you carry peace, you see clearly, you move wisely, you decide strategically. People who lack peace move from one emotional reaction to the next. They're always offended, always agitated, always reacting. But the person who carries peace walks with quiet authority. They don't get caught up in gossip. They don't waste energy proving points. They don't respond to every insult. Why? Because peace has made them aware of their worth. And once you truly know your worth, chaos becomes beneath you. In the corporate world, there was a woman who always stood out, not because she was the loudest in meetings, but because when deadlines were closing in and tempers were rising, she stayed calm. When others were scrambling and yelling, she was focused and decisive. Her team produced better results, not because of better skills, but because they worked under the leadership of peace, not panic. That's why she got promoted, not just for performance, but for presence. Because peace is presence. It shifts the room, commands respect without saying a word. Even in relationships, peace is power. If you have to beg someone to be calm, to stop yelling, to listen, you're already losing energy. But when you become a person who responds with peace, you shift the entire frequency. You teach others how to treat you. You stop trying to win arguments and start winning understanding. Because peace doesn't need to be right, it seeks to be effective. People mistake peace for passivity. No, peace is the highest level of control. It's standing in the center of pressure and choosing not to lose yourself. It's being provoked but refusing to be possessed. It's being tempted to fight, to clap back, to get even, but choosing to rise instead. That's what makes peace dangerous to those who thrive on control, because they can't shake you. They can't bait you. They can't manipulate you when your peace doesn't depend on their behavior. There's a story I'll never forget. A young man was falsely accused at work. Everyone expected him to explode, to retaliate, to send angry emails or threaten legal action. But he didn't. He stayed calm. He kept working. He let the process play out. And the truth came out on its own. His name was cleared. The real culprit was exposed, and he was promoted instead of punished. That's the power of peace. It doesn't panic. It positions you. It keeps your character intact while time reveals what truth will always expose. Peace is a force multiplier. It enhances your clarity. It sharpens your decisions. It lets you see through confusion. It allows you to focus when everyone else is distracted. That's why you don't need to chase opportunities. Just maintain your peace and opportunities will chase you, because people are drawn to peace. They trust it. They follow it. They remember it. Even in your daily routine, peace makes a difference. You wake up late. Will you start your day in panic or presence? Your child spills juice right before a meeting. Will you shout or show patience? A driver cuts you off in traffic. Will you let it ruin your day, or will you stay focused on your destination? These small moments train your peace muscle. And the stronger it gets, the more unstoppable you become. Peace is not a luxury. It's a discipline. It's choosing to meditate when you could scroll. It's choosing to breathe before you react. It's choosing to pray before you panic. It's choosing to walk away when your ego wants to fight. It's learning that not everything requires your energy, and not every battle deserves your sword. You don't have to chase everything that tries to disturb your peace. Let it go. Protect your peace like you protect your future, because they're connected. You can't reach your destiny if you keep stopping to argue with every distraction. Peace is your path. Guard it like treasure. Build it like a fortress. Move with it like armor. Because in the end, the calmest mind always sees the clearest path. You were never meant to be ruled by chaos. You were born with the power to rise above it. Your mind is not a playground for worry. It's a battlefield where only peace can win the war. Every time life shakes you, it's not trying to destroy you. It's testing how deep your roots run. And I'm here to tell you, when your mind is calm, no storm can uproot you. You don't need perfect conditions to be powerful. You need the discipline to choose peace, even in the presence of pressure. Listen to me, anybody can stay calm when the sun is shining. But it takes real strength to be unbothered when the thunder is loud and the world is shaking. That's when champions are built. Not in ease, but in tension. Not in silence, but in noise. So train your mind to be calm, not for comfort, but for power. Because the one who remains calm controls the outcome. Let them talk. Let the chaos rage. Let the problems rise, but let your mind stay anchored. Don't let what's outside you control what's within you. You've got too much purpose to be triggered by every little thing. You've got too much destiny to be distracted by drama. Peace is not weakness, it's wisdom with its shoes laced up. Think about the eagle. When the storm comes, every other bird hides, but the eagle doesn't run. It spreads its wings and flies above the storm. It uses the pressure of the wind to soar higher. That's what your calm mind does. When pressure comes, you don't sink, you rise. You don't panic, you pivot, you don't crumble, you calculate, you fly over it while others fight under it. You will never see your reflection in boiling water. The same way you will never hear your true voice in the middle of panic. Calmness gives you access to truth. Peace gives you the keys to direction. You want clarity, then stop rushing. You want answers, then be still. Because when your mind is calm, wisdom speaks louder than worry. You are not built to fall apart under pressure. You were made to master it. And mastery doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you wake up every day and train your mind. Train it to choose faith over fear. Train it to respond and not react. Train it to breathe before speaking. Train it to let go instead of lashing out. You do not need to control the storm. You just need to control your response. And when you do, the storm will pass without breaking you. There's a reason lions don't flinch when smaller animals bark. The lion doesn't waste time responding to noise beneath its roar, and neither should you. Protect your energy. Guard your peace. because you are not here to survive life, you're here to master it. And mastery requires focus. You cannot afford to lose your mind over people who haven't found theirs. Les Brown once said, "Don't let someone else's opinion of you become your reality." I'll take it further. Don't let someone else's chaos become your character. You are not what happens around you. You are what happens within you. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Set the temperature. Lead the room. Influence the moment. Because when your presence is anchored in peace, your absence becomes louder than their noise. Remember, the strongest soldiers aren't the loudest. They're the most disciplined. The deepest waters are the calmest. You don't have to shout to be powerful. You don't have to fight to be respected. You don't have to rush to be effective. Stillness is strength. Focus is fire. Calmness is control. You are not late. You are learning. You are not weak. You are awakening. You are not broken. You are becoming. The mind that is trained for calm becomes a magnet for clarity, strategy, and divine timing. So the next time life throws you into chaos, take a breath, smile gently, and remember, I am still here. I am still standing, and I am still calm, because peace is not something you wait for. It's something you become.